Welcome and welcome back to Authentically Alexis Chats, Lessons for the Eldest Daughter. So we are on our second episode of Lessons for the Eldest Daughter in Authentically Alexis Chats, and this episode is about becoming. And in becoming, you have to break down your me versus me mentality. It's never us against the world. It's always us against ourselves. What version of ourselves are we going to be the woman that we've always dreamed of? So let's break it down. Let's talk about who we were and who we want to be and who we are in between the entire process. All right, sisters, come in. Let's chat. So by now, hopefully you know that I am talking to the eldest daughter. And I want to talk to every version and every iteration of eldest daughter that there is out there. Have I been through everything that all the eldest daughters have ever been through? No. But I am an eldest daughter and I have experience in majority of these areas. So I want to talk to the eldest daughters that I can reach. So with that being said, most of us become who our families need us to be and not who God intended us to be. And it starts off in our childhood. And in each phase of life, there has always been a version of us that's always fighting against the version that we want to be. So we have the child version of ourselves. This is where it all begins. This is the space where we learn and grow the most. This is the space where we hold on and form to ideologies and what's right from wrong. This is the space in where we had a chance to be childlike. We had a chance to be carefree. We had a chance to dream of becoming what it is that we've always become. These are the formative years of our lives where we see the world and it's just so big and grand, and we're looking at the things around us and they influence us and they inspire us, and they sometimes show us like what we don't want to be like and what we do want to be like. These are the years of our lives where everything is starting to form and come together. This is the place where we see things going on and we have some understanding of it, but we do not have the full understanding of it. Our childhood was a place that shaped us. But then it came a time where something or someone came along and it all changed. You go from being carefree and childlike to gaining small responsibilities that your parents or your families hand over to you, to see how well you handle things, to see how mature you are, even at a very young age, and to see if certain tasks can be given to you so that you can go be the one to go on and complete those tasks for the family while the parent or the family member is off doing something else, whether it is, caring in another way, working, whatever it is. They give you this responsibility as a young age, and if you can accomplish it, great, we are putting you to work. And as you begin to gain these responsibilities as a child and they start to put you to work, the more you complete things well, the more that they will give you to do at a very early age. So not only are you being formed and shaped in this space of life, you are now seeing what it is to have responsibility. And some of us had more responsibility than we needed at a young age. And when you have responsibilities that you don't need at a young age, it begins to mature you quickly. It begins to parentify you in a way that you no longer operate from the mind of a child, but you have to develop mentally to adapt to the environment that you're in with the responsibilities that you now have. As a child, being inundated with all of this new information and all of these ways of living and all of these ways of doing now takes you out of a child's mindset and enters you into the mindset of someone who works and moves like a mini adult. So you are changing diapers, you are making bottles, you are cleaning the house, you're helping to fix meals, you're learning how to fend for yourself, you're learning how to take care of yourself or other people around you to help out. And to them, it's all, innocent because, oh, you're growing, you need these responsibilities. And rightfully so. As you grow, you need responsibilities. But some of us as eldest daughters had responsibilities that we never should have had. And as you gain responsibility, with responsibility comes maturity. And as you mature as a young age, you start to just kind of look at childlike things as immature and stupid, and just like that's not where I am mentally, because I've already gone into this space of a mini adulthood that has already reared me for my next phase of life. This is where most eldest daughters become the project managers of the family. You know schedules, you know what the kids like to eat and don't like to eat. You know how to help them with their homework. You know the certain ways that certain siblings like to handle things or do things, or how to get them to calm down and not be bad and running all over the house acting a fool. You have already become to learn the emotional nuances of your family members, the physical nuances of your family members. You begin to process how people like things, how people don't like things, what make people tick, what don't make people tick, whether it's your siblings or whether it is your parents. So you begin to adapt at a very young age emotionally on how to respond and not respond to certain things. And what that creates in us in that moment is what we call as people pleasing. I'm going to do the thing that you like, and I'm not going to do the thing that makes you tick, because I'm trying to stay on your good side so that I can get these responsibilities done. And whether your family and your siblings notice it, a lot of them do, and a lot of them manipulate us as eldest daughters in these spaces because they know that we are people pleasers. We want to do a good job at the task that we have given. They will sometimes manipulate you into doing certain things or causing you to feel a certain way so that they can get their way out of you. And as children, we don't know what boundaries are. So people can get away with certain things. Your siblings can get away with certain things. Your parents can get away with certain things and cross boundaries. And from a very young age, we don't know what boundaries are. So not only can our families cross them, other people that come into our lives can also cross them, because we don't have those things set, because we don't know what they are as children. Some of us were scared and feared and beaten and all kinds of things into responsibilities. Well, if you don't do this, then I'm going to harm you. If you don't do this, I'm going to do this. If you don't do this, I'm going to take this away from you. A lot of eldest daughters were feared and pushed into responsibility so that they would not be harmed or hurt or threatened in any way. In this space, we learn risk and reward. So if we don't do what our families tell us to do, we know that there is a consequence to that. There will be some form of punishment. There will be some form of reprimand. And in order not to be reprimanded, we do what is told of us. And in our minds, we think the reward that we receive when completing these responsibilities are that, good job, I'm so proud of you for completing all these things. Good job, I'm so proud of you for handling your siblings. Good job, I'm so proud of you for helping me in this crisis or through this time emotionally or mentally as the child. So in that space, you learn, okay, this is how I have to maneuver so that I can get a job well done for my family. And this is how I have to maneuver so that my reward is some sort of validation. So we move and do and have our being in all the things that our family requires of us, that when we get older, we seek validation in those ways. Well, if I did this right, will they validate me or will I not be validated? If I show up in this way, am I not perfect enough to receive this validation that I'm so normal, that I'm so used to having when I do something right and when I do something perfect and when I show up for somebody else? Am I going to receive this validation if I make a mistake? Or am I going to be lashed out upon if I make a mistake? So in your childhood, you're learning all of these things, and it's just like, information filling your mind and shaping who you are becoming in this version of your life, in this phase of your adolescence. Now let's move on to the teen years. There's so much we can unpack in the childhood years, but we're going to keep going. In the teen years, you are a full-blown house manager at this point. You know everybody's schedule. You know what everybody needs. You know what everybody likes and don't like. You know how to run a tight ship, and you know how to run a household. You know how to this is teenage years is where you have perfected walking on eggshells. You have perfected it so much that nothing cracks. And when it does crack, you crack. This is the place where you are old enough to basically raise your siblings for your parent, whether that be part-time or whether that be full-time. You know when homework needs to be done. You have schedules set up. By the time you come home from school, you take your break or you do your homework. You start to set out the kitchen and the dinner and all this stuff. And then by the time your siblings get home, you run a tight ship. Yeah, they may run around and act crazy on you, but you know how to pull them together and say, hey, by the time mommy and daddy get home, I need your homework done. So all they need to do when they come in this house is check it, and they need to do whatever it is that they need to do as a parent. And you have snacks set out. You have whatever it is that the kids need by the time they get home. At this phase, you are probably, some of y'all are out here helping pay bills, working jobs. Some of us are out here helping and assisting with the other adults in the house with figuring out how to get things done. You run a tight ship. By this time, you recognize patterns, you recognize ways, and you recognize schedules, and you stick to everything so that everything runs smoothly, so that if it cracks or if something falls out of place, you know how to fix it so it doesn't fall back on you. You begin to unravel just a little bit because you start to recognize when you get a breath to yourself that you are unseen, you are unheard, and because you're doing all of these things for everyone in the household, you go unnoticed and you go unappreciated. Unfortunately, by this age, some of us are depressed. Some of us are lonely. Some of us are seeking relationships with people that we should not be in relationship with. These little boyfriends and these little girlfriends that we have in our teenage years are manipulative, narcissistic, love bombing. This is the age where you start to let your need for being seen and wanted creep into a space where it probably shouldn't. You don't have any healthy coping mechanisms. The first person that comes along and says that you're pretty, you probably welcome them with open arms, while they are abusive and self-seeking, and you're always looking to please somebody else, and you're always looking to fulfill somebody else, but you always happen to end up empty, unseen, unheard, and not nurtured. This is a place where your parenthood is already solidified. You know how to raise children at this point. And for some of you, your parents are not the parents to your siblings. You are, because your siblings come to you for every need that they have. And you are the liaison between them and your parents. You already know and anticipate the needs of your siblings before your parents even anticipate them. And your parents give you the reins to figure it out for them. They give you the resources to figure it out for their youngest child or the younger siblings. So you've already been solidified as a parent in your teenage years without even pushing anything out of you. And this is the age where a lot of us say we don't want children and we do not want to be married. I don't know about y'all, but my teenage years, I would tell people I'm not getting married. I'm not having kids. One day I went to my sister's, she's my sister cousin, my sister's friend's house, and her granny was sweeping the floor. I had my feet on the floor. You know, Black culture and Caribbean culture where it's just like, well, if you sweep your feet, that means you don't want to get married or you're not going to get married. That granny was sweeping the floor. I moved my feet a little bit so she could get to where she at. I was like, oh, you could sweep my feet? And she was like, don't you know? And I was like, I don't even care. I don't even care. Sweep them. I don't care. Because I was just at the point where I was just too through with what I seen, with what I experienced. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this. If this is anything like, if my version of motherhood and wifehood is anything like what I have seen, I don't want to do it. I'm not doing it. But this is a place where you settle and you say, nah, this is not for me. These are my kids. And we take on this mindset of mom and parent. And it's just like, that was never our responsibility. And that was never the mindset that we were supposed to take on. Now, granted, if you decide that you don't want to get married and don't want to have any kids, that is totally fine too. Because your way of life is your way of life and how you want to live it. Full stop. But this is a space as a teenager where you let things happen that have been built upon from your childhood into your teen years that usher you into your womanhood. Like I was saying before, we get into these relationships with these people out of people pleasing. A lot of us attract narcissists. A lot of us attract married men. A lot of us attract older men because we are mature. And I'm not saying all, but a lot of people that we attract, they come to manipulate us because they see something in us that's not fulfilled. And this is where we enter into our womanhood, where our frontal lobe is fully developed and we need to heal from what has been done from our teen years and our childhood. For the mother and wife thing in my 20s, I would say probably I didn't recognize that I had said that I didn't want to be married or have children, and probably until not my mid 20s, like my early 20s. And I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that, because I know that there are other ways of life now. What I've seen is not all there is to being married. What I've seen is not all there is to motherhood. And what I've seen is not all there is to responsibility. So in my early 20s is when my mind started to shift. I was still very insecure. I still felt very lonely. I still felt very unseen and unheard, but my mind was starting to change. And in my early 20s is when I became religious, for lack of a better word. In me finding my faith, that is what sparked my healing. That is what sparked my the change that I wanted to see in my life. By the time you reach womanhood as an eldest daughter, it's like, I'm getting out of here. I'm moving away from these people. I don't want nothing to do with them. I see how they treat me. I see their ways. It's like, I'm chunking the deuce because y'all have worn me out. And sometimes when you get this urge to leave or move or to have your own, it's not even out of a place of selfishness. It's just out of a place of, I need peace. And I need to sit down and I need to think for myself for a moment. I need to sit down and not take care of anybody or help anybody for a minute. Let me get to know me, because I don't know who I am. I don't know who I am outside of helping people. I don't know who I am outside of helping my family. I don't know who I am outside of helping to raise my siblings. Who am I? So you reach this place in your womanhood where you are broken, where you are bitter, where you are upset, where you are frustrated, and you have all of these things in your mind and you just want to like cuss everybody out. And it's just like, I hate you all. I'm leaving. And for some of us in our womanhood, you need to move away, because some of you all have families that don't understand what they put you through. Some of you all have families that are just downright manipulative and they are not going to change. I am very blessed to have parents that I have been able to talk to and get my grievances out and say what I need to say. And, you know, at a certain point in time, we can look back and we can kiki about all the things that went on. But some of you are not going to get that chance, and some of you need to take the space, the time and the space and the opportunity to develop into the woman that you want to be. Because the woman that you are in bitterness and in anger is not who God predestined you to be. So your womanhood is about healing and undoing all of the trauma and the things that went on in your life that caused you to be this way as a woman. You start to see that I let things slide that I probably shouldn't have let slide. I should have spoke up for myself in this way. I should have said no. I should have said, hey, I need some help. I should have said, hey, I need some love. Hey, I need some attention. Yes, I know that I'm helping and doing all of these things and you're proud of me, blah, 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 or you just expect these things from me. But now is the time to say, look, I need a minute and I love you all, but I gotta go take care of me now. I spend my time taking care of everybody else. Let me go and take care of me. So this is the time where you heal. This is the time where you focus on yourself. This is the time where you do the things that you want to do. This is the time to figure out, if you don't know what to do with your life or what you want to do, this is the time to figure that out. Because if you don't have any children, you don't have any children. If you're not connected to a man or a spouse or a girlfriend or a wife, then you could do whatever it is that you need to do in this space of your life. This is the time to go back to that child that had the time to dream, that had the time to be carefree, that had the time to be childlike. But it doesn't come without healing. Because the more you heal, the more you get back to your authentic self, the version of you that God was trying to develop from that very, very, very little age. And the things that you liked as a teenager that you had to mask and pull back on and hide from people. It's time for you to explore that part of you to become all that God has called you to be. There are so many versions of us that we had to bury so that we could keep going for our families and our siblings. But now is the time, whether you have children or a husband or not, to take a minute to focus on yourself, to take a minute to heal, to take the time to go to therapy, to take the time to do whatever it is that you need to uncover the true version of you, because it's going to be that version of you that helped raise that family versus the version of you that God predestined you to be. And this version is fighting and overtaking this version because you have not had the time to heal. You have not had the time to overcome. You have not had the time to process your childhood. You have not had the time to sit and be. But the more you tend to this version of yourself, the more this version overcomes the version of you that you had to be to take care of everyone. This version gets bigger and brighter and bolder and becomes more of a testament to God and who He's called you to be once you take that time to sit and heal so that God can set you free. So it's me versus me. It's you versus you, sister. It's the old version of you and the new version of you. And the woman that's on the in-between, you have to make a decision in the process. It's the person that you are today that is going to dictate if you are going to stay that old version of you and that version of you that you had to be for everyone else, or are you going to pour into this version of you now in this process to become the woman that God predestined for you to be? So I just want you to sit with that and think about that, and happy healing to you. And I pray to see the new you come through and shine like never before, because it's your time, eldest daughter. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.